Ray Lalonde returned for his 14th game on Jeopardy. He won a 13-day total of $386,400, tying Matt Jackson's number of wins. Ken Jennings' instruction was, "Welcome everyone to Jeopardy! Our champion, Ray Lalonde, made a remarkable comeback in the Double Jeopardy round in yesterday's game, taking a score to just $1,000 to over $16,000 in a matter of minutes. He had a narrow $100 lead going into Final Jeopardy, a round where he's been very strong, responding correctly to 11 out of the 13 finals during his run. He's only missed 2. I didn't even notice that. It's funny because I noticed Chris Panullo and the Daily Doubles. I did not notice Ray Lalonde and the Final Jeopardy questions. Today, Clara and Lloyd join us on the Alex Trebek stage. One of the categories was fiction's fictional places. Sounds redundant. It even took me 2 tries to read this. This shipwrecked character ends up on the island of despair in 1659. Lloyd buzzed and answered, "Who's Gulliver?" which is incorrect. Then Clara buzzed and answered, "Who's Robinson Crusoe?" which is correct. Robinson Crusoe was the answer to the first Daily Double in Double Jeopardy in Game 5 of the 2022 Tournament of Champions quarterfinals in Erica Hossing's back-to-back true Daily Doubles. In the illustration seen here, the title character is tied up on business in this land. I felt bad for Ray. He buzzed and answered, "Who is Gulliver?" which is incorrect. I also just noticed that both times someone buzzed and answered, "Who is Gulliver?" the answer was incorrect. Then Lloyd buzzed and answered, "What's Lilliput?" which is correct. They needed the land. I know we say this a lot. The mini anecdotal interviews were all interesting. Lloyd's was about prom. Lloyd Sy, originally from Rockford, Illinois, is a grad student in literature. "And you once went to great lengths to make a prom invitation, right?" Lloyd answered, "That's right. Japanese tradition says that if you fold 1,000 origami paper cranes, you get a wish. I folded 1,000 cranes and used my 1,000th crane wish to ask someone to prom." Ken asked, "Does the superstition work? Do they say yes?" "Of course," Lloyd answered. So last week, Scott's anecdote was about crosswords, and I compared that to Alan Pratt's anecdote about prom. Yeah, so I started doing crossword puzzles when I was in elementary school and really grew to love them. So I got asked to senior prom in a crossword puzzle. I wrote a business school application essay in the form of a crossword puzzle, and then my current employer wrote one for me to entice me to accept my job. Ken asked, "Are you saying that if you ask someone to prom in a crossword puzzle, they might say yes?" Ellen answers, "Especially if it's only a 3-letter answer, yes." Here we have another anecdote about prom. I wish I knew that tradition. Claire met Green Day, which means this is the second time in Ray's run when Green Day came up. I almost said the second time in a week until I remembered we just ended last year, and we're now in January 2023. And out of all bands, it had to be Green Day. Ken asked Claire, "You once met the band Green Day. How did this come about?" Claire answered, "I did. My grandmother works in radio, and so she was watching the day and interview to work, and Green Day was there, and so I just stared at Trey Cool's green hair, and they thought it was hilarious." Ken asked, "Now this is guaranteed to make me feel very old. How old were you when you met Green Day?" Claire answered, "About 6 months." Ken laughed before saying, "I shouldn't have asked." Ray's anecdote was about skydiving, which surprised Ken. Ray Lalonde from Toronto is a scenic artist and a 2-time skydiver. "You don't have the look, Ray?" Ray answered, "Yep, the first time I did. I was in my 20s and afraid of heights at the time. And then 35 years later, it was my 55th birthday, and a good friend of mine was an instructor and said, 'You gotta go again.' And so we went up again and I jumped again." Ken asked if it got easier, to which Ray made some comment about being young. Ken ended by telling him that Ray will skydive again on his 90th birthday. There was an overheard on set that compared Jeopardy to skydiving. Also, Ray said he went skydiving on his 55th birthday, so surely Ken should feel younger. Lloyd got the first Daily Double, risked $5, and he gave a funny answer. History professor Paul Josephson's definitive article on these breeded items is titled "The Ocean's Hot Dog." Lloyd answered, "What is UCY bet $5?" That took him down to $3,595. Yeah, you can tell that I'm not a fan when they wager small or weird amounts, even if it is like $5. This is also the first time someone bet $5 in the run of a super champion when Jason Cifernieri himself bet $5 in the third Daily Double in his 16th game. One that he got correct, by the way. Meanwhile, Lloyd's $5 wager was reminiscent of when Arthur Chu himself bet $5 in the first Daily Double in his second game when he immediately answered, "I don't know." The answer was fish sticks, by the way. The 16th, 2nd, and 10th letters of the alphabet make up this favorite sandwich. This reminded me of the Decipher Art Top Secret Code category from Matt Emodio's 25th game and Erica Hossack's 6th game. I immediately knew it was PB&J. Ray entered the first round winning $5,000. Lloyd was in second place at $4,595. And Clara was in third place at $3,200. He got both daily doubles. Lloyd got the first daily double in Double Jeopardy, wagered $3,095. I guess he's using the James Holzhauer strategy of betting. Got it right. I went to $8,890. I would have had a nightmare if I had to cover James Holzhauer's games, or if I chose to, if I would have watched Jeopardy at that time. Cheers to Henry IV, who became France's first king from this ruling house in 1589. The answer was bourbon, which came up on Andrew Heath's 4th game. Had I not included that question when I reviewed that game, I would have never understood why the question said, cheers to Henry IV. Ray got the second daily double in Double Jeopardy, raised $3,000. Unfortunately, I answered wrong. I went down to $8,400. Lloyd took the lead. Is this going to be another close game like the past few days? Ray ended Double Jeopardy winning $12,000 even. Clara was in second place at $11,200, and Lloyd was in the lead at $12,490. The Final Jeopardy category was foreign-born authors. The question was, early in her career, she translated romance novels into Spanish, often changing the dialogue to make the heroines smarter. I wasn't even thinking of a guess. The answer was Isabel Allende. Yes, that's correct. The great Chilean novelist got her start translating romance novels and was eventually fired for changing them. All 3 contestants answered correctly and I hit the scores. Claire wagered all $11,200, taking her score to $22,400. Ray also went all in and wagered all $12,000, taking a score to $24,000 even. I also just noticed he's wearing the same outfit from his first game. Did Lloyd also go all in? Lloyd also bet $12,000, taking his score to $24,490, and won the game. Similar to Ray's first game when he and Sean McShane both bet $10,000 and Ray won. Ray and Lloyd both wagered $12,000, and Lloyd won. Lloyd Sy is Ray Lalonde's giant killer. What this also means is this is the first time since Jonathan Fisher's loss when all 3 contestants answered correct in the Final Jeopardy round of the loss of a super champion. This is also the first time since the Tournament of Champions when a super champion, Ryan Long, went all in on Final Jeopardy, answered correctly, and still lost. Out of all the losses of the super champions, James Holzhauer, Jonathan Fisher, and now Ray Lalonde are the only rounds where all 3 players answered Final Jeopardy correctly. And they were all literature related. No, they all asked about authors. That's even crazy. Yeah, it wasn't just about like a specific literature. It was about an author. Now I wonder how all 3 would play against each other. Lloyd became a 2-game Jeopardy champion, so similar to Danielle Maurer. Both giant killers defeated a Canadian super champion and won 2 games. Now I do have more to say about this, so tune in for part 2, where I go over the aftermath of Ray Lalonde's loss. And as always, thank you for watching.